Name is Mark Spillane. The U.S. Surgeon General recently wrote that parenting stress is a serious public health concern. The Surgeon General's advisory says parents are facing a wide variety of challenges, from worrying about money and safety to struggling to get enough sleep, as well as new stressors like the youth mental health crisis. While we look at the bigger picture of stress, Dr. Jennifer Baker of Good Dads joins our own Paul Adler to remind us that there are benefits to being a parent.
Jennifer Baker with Good Dads is here with us, and this is Live Life Well. We invited you in because we visit with you once a month anyway. The Surgeon General recently released an advisory on the mental health and well-being of parents and reported high levels of stress in parents. Are you seeing this in your practice with parents?
I think oftentimes parents are less confident than their parents were, and so they worry more about, am I doing the right thing? And then they hear all kinds of scary things about what happened to kids and kids' mental health, and then they worry even more that if they don't do it right, something bad's going to happen to their children. Yeah.
You wrote a blog post and posed the question, are good dads happier? And you looked at a couple of cases, Garrett and Will. I'm not sure if that's their actual names or not.
No.
They're two examples. Both are in essence wondering, is it a good decision to become parents or to have become parents in one case? It is a really big decision.
It's a really big decision, and I think the temptation is to think like, in my generation, we just had children. We knew that when we got married, we were going to have children. That we didn't really think about it a lot. But because people are thinking about it so much more, they're thinking about what's the cost of children in terms of time and resources, and what about the future, and will I really be happier if I have children? And then, you know, when you see this thing by the Surgeon General, then you may be thinking, well, maybe I will just be so stressed out as a parent, I'd be better off not being a parent. But in fact, there is lots of research to support that becoming a parent is really good for your mental health.
Okay, so we'll come back to the stress part of it in a minute. In your blog, you talk about 3 different things that change once you're a parent. What are those 3 things?
Well, one of those things is when you're a parent, you have more social support. It just, with putting your child in school or your child's in sports, or they know other parents, your wife is more likely, if you're a dad, then the mother of the child is more likely to know other mothers. And so that increases your opportunities to connect with other people who have children of the same age, unlike if you're a single adult. Surprisingly, single adults are often more lonely than people who have children and have a reason to connect. Ask anybody that's moved to a new town, and they'll say it's so much easier to get to meet people if you have children.
And the children open doors for you socially, and that's an important part of your life.
That's a very important part of your life. You know, there's the Harvard longitudinal study that points to the fact that the healthiest adults who often live the longest are those people who have good social support, and that's a good way to develop social support with children.
I imagine most people come to realize at some point that you have this sense of purpose. So you get that with the job sometimes. You can get that with children too, because this little creature that becomes a bigger creature that becomes a preteen and gives you headaches, that does give you a sense of purpose, correct?
Yes, and it does. There's an interesting study, though, that talks about the fact that, you know, in terms of happiness, couples often start out here, we're talking about in the couple relationship, they start out here, and when they have children, their happiness starts going down, at least initially. But here's the thing, that it then starts to rise, and it rises over the people who choose not to have children. I don't shoot the messenger here, but there's that sense of, well, we went through this challenging time together, and we have children and we have grandchildren, and look, my son or daughter has graduated from college, and now there's not just me, there's them, and then their spouses. And so that sense of purpose that comes from having started something more than just yourself.
This bond that happens.
Yeah.
And we've talked in the past about emotional regulation and the difference between mom and dad. If you don't have kids, it's kind of like with a dog. So you get the dog all wound up,
yeah,
and then you're trying to teach the dog how to chill out. It's time to go to sleep. So it's kind of the same thing with kids. Not that kids and dogs are the same thing.
No, I'm not saying that. No. But with children, you begin to learn. It's like people sometimes say, "Well, when do you become an adult?" You know, well, I think you have to be paying your own electric bill for one thing, like your own utilities. But when you have children, you really begin to realize it's not all about you. There's someone else's health, well-being, safety, security that you're responsible for. And that causes you to think about, wow, maybe I shouldn't drink so much. Or maybe I need to get a handle on my temper because I see my child acting out and I need to demonstrate what it's like to be a mature person. Wow, maybe I need to think about spending because I now need to think that child needs new shoes, or someday they're going to go to college, or whatever. So having children actually causes people to become more emotionally stable and to regulate their emotions. Now, in the heat of the moment, when your toddler's having a meltdown in the middle of Walmart, you may not be thinking about, you know, that you're well emotionally regulated. But overall, having children helps you think about a larger purpose, also leading and guiding these little ones and then helping them grow up to be mature human beings.
So as an adult, the Surgeon General talks about high stress level with parents, and that's an example that would create high stress.
Yes. Yep.
You're dealing with the situation in a public place you'd rather not be dealing with.
Yes.
You'd rather have that toddler perfect all the time, which isn't going to happen. So how do you cope with that stress as a parent? I guess you can address individually maybe the temper tantrum, but just kind of on a broader level too.
Well, you need other people to talk to. I mean, this is one of the things with good dads. We've had dads say, "Gosh, this is the only place I ever talk about being a dad." What it's like to be a dad, to worry about my kids. And moms tend to do that more naturally, but when dads talk to other dads, that's like, okay, this is normal. Other 2-year-olds are like this. Other 13-year-olds are like this. I can handle this. I would say also talking to older adults who've been through it. If you admire them, you admire their family, you see other kids that turned out, I would talk to them. Don't just go with the latest theory. There are some good things out there. But honestly, if you get all your parenting advice off Instagram, you know, might be a good idea to talk to someone who you admire, whose children are doing well, and and maybe just a little ahead of you, but can support you. Usually those people are happy to share with you.
Okay, I am talking to a smart person right now, not someone on Instagram who just thinks they're smart.
Yeah.
So give me, I know this is going down that Instagram road, but give me 3 things I can do if I'm a parent, I'm stressed. Okay, you said you can talk to people, talk to someone you admire, talk to someone who's smart.
Right.
So is there a point, you know, when you need therapy to talk to someone who is smart about this?
If you're really getting stuck and you can't seem to get yourself out of let's say your child just refuses to do homework and is not doing well in school, and you're wondering, okay, what do I do about this? It's probably good to talk to a professional, somebody who's dealt with this a lot. You can always talk to your child's teacher, but therapists, family therapists in particular, are skilled in helping with family dynamics and could probably help you with that. Or if you're really worried about what's going on with your 15-year-old and some of their behaviors, that's also that's a very stressful time. That's a good time to talk to someone else if you can't get it worked out between you and your partner.
So if you're not comfortable talking to a therapist, you think, this is not for me, I'm not going to do this. And I know there are people who think that way, and I'm sure you run into this yourself. Good Dads is not really therapy. It's
no.
What is it? Explain. So I know what it is, but explain it.
So in our Fundamentals for Fatherhood or our Good Dads 2.0, we actually talk about how to be a good dad. You know, we talk about what do you do in these certain situations? What's developmentally appropriate? So it's a parenting class. Or we like to just think of it, it's a way to have more tools in your toolbox.
Yeah.
And that's really the problem a lot of times, if people are faced with a situation. If they were at work, they would know what tool to use, but now because this is a relationship thing, they're not sure what tool is appropriate. Do I do a timeout? Do I talk to this child? How do I discipline them?
And it's open to anyone?
Yeah, well, any dad.
Any dad?
Yeah.
You have to be a father.
For good dads, you do, yes.
For good dads, you do. That's the group.
We're actually working on, at some point, having classes for moms and dads together because we want to get them on the same page. We think that's good for everybody in the family. But at this moment, we have classes for dads. And
your classes, are they once a week, twice a week, once a month?
Usually once a week. We actually have a manufacturing company in town here who's offering them over the lunch hour for their employees, which is a very cool thing. But we probably have at least, within Springfield, maybe 4 different classes a week that people could attend. But honestly, we're all over Southwest Missouri. I was just on a phone call with our chapters today, and probably in 10 to 15 different locations in the KY3 viewing area, we have Good Dads classes.
So if people want to find out more about Good Dads, then maybe they're feeling stressed and they want to, hey, maybe I'll just check out a class, or I want information. Where do they go to get that information?
Just gooddads.com.
Pretty simple.
Pretty simple. It's really easy to remember, gooddads.com. That's it.
That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do.
And if they want to contact you, they can find a way, the email on there, or call the office.
info@gooddads.com.
Okay. And you'll be able to see that at some point.
Yes, I will.
Any other thoughts on what the Surgeon General had to say before we go? The Surgeon General is talking about some really big ticket, big picture items like increased access to paid family leave, improving early childhood education, improving child care access, improving access to mental health care. These are all big picture, big things.
Yeah, there is no doubt that if you need 2 incomes, you have to have reliable child care for your child. And if you don't have that, if the babysitter doesn't show up or you can't find a place for your child to go, it would be very hard for you to go to work. And then, of course, you're worried about finances, and if the child care is not affordable. All those things create a lot of pressure and stress for young parents.
So if you could advise the Surgeon General on what the #1 priority would be, would it be the child care part of that?
Probably child care, and I know more companies because they've contacted us and said, what should we do for paternity leave? You know, if we have maternity leave for moms, so some couples now, because child care for infants is so expensive, they will say, we're going to give mom this much maternity leave and dad this much paternity leave. And so they will alternate. One of them will go back to work. And then when that person's leave is up, the other one will come in. And that's a good way to retain an employee sometimes, if they don't have to stress about how am I going to take care of my baby, and what's the cost for that going to be?
And it saves them money.
It saves them money.
All right. Jennifer Baker with Good Dads.
Thank you.
On this Live Life Well.